PowerPlayChess, brought to you in association with Kagi. You might well have seen the video that I published earlier with the game between David Howe and Shreyas Royal. Absolutely tremendous scrap. Do check that out. That was round 4. This game is from round 5. So I'm bringing you up to date with events in the British Championship. So Shreyas Royal, 15 years old, incredible talent, really promising. He's on 100% after 4 rounds, 4 out of 4. Same with Gawain Jones, also on 4 out of 4. Gawain, of course, has been at the top of English chess for many years now. He's, let me see, he's 36 years old. 36-year-old against a 15-year-old. So let's check this one out. So d4, and we know that both players absolutely love playing with the initiative. And this game did not disappoint. So Gawain plays the King's Indian. That's one of his absolutely favourite openings. And now Bishop g5 from Shreyas. So it's slightly unusual. I mean, this is a very old system, the so-called Smyslov system. You used to play it in the 1950s. Can be quite positional if black goes for this line. You play with e3, so not the normal storming King's Indian with white. And yeah, you often play with queen's, whoops, not that one, with, I beg your pardon, with queen c2. But Gawain takes the game in a very different direction, so that's quite positional. But Gawain plays c5, and after d5 we have this typical Benoni structure, but with white's bishop on g5 at an early stage, which is a little bit unusual. h6, now don't give up bishop for a knight. Put the bishop back on h4. d6. So does white want to play e4 or e3? Well, it depends. If you play e4 straight away, then black can chase down that bishop. And it's probably not so great to have the pawn on e4, because that means that black's bishop is very, very strong here. Let's come back. So what Shreyas does is play knight d2 first. That's clever. So if e6, then you can play e4, because the queen controls h5, so the bishop isn't getting chased down. And then, well, just bishop e2, castles kingside, and that's quite a healthy Benoni for white, with the bishop already pinning here. So after knight d2, Gawain plays g5. Bishop comes back to g3. And knight h5. So in this way, Gawain does manage to chase down that bishop. But in this case, white wants the pawn on e3, which means black doesn't have some control over the d4 square. And, well, it's important the pawn is on e3 as well, because after, well, now the knight is attacked. So knight takes, pawn takes, so semi-open rook's file. But you can see that this diagonal is open as well, with the pawn on e3, and that's nice. So that means that white has attacking chances. So it's really double-edged. Beautiful bishop, which can attack but also defends the king. But that's a very inviting diagonal for white's pieces. f5 played by Gawain. So that means he can get a better connection with, for example, the queen on the king side, and that means, well, also blocks the diagonal. So in that way, he's hoping to get better defense as well, with possibly the queen defending from here, maybe along the second rank as well. So a logical move for white after f5 is g4, and that was the move that was played. Of course, white is trying to break open lines. So that was taken. Now here's the first surprise. Shreyas plays queen c2. So, taking control of that diagonal, which is fair enough. But I'm surprised he didn't play queen takes g4. So just bringing the queen over to the king side straight away. So after pawn takes pawn, yep, I realise there's an attack on the queen. But queen h5. And the queen is, of course, best placed on the king side when we're trying to attack. Okay, this might sneak in here, you never know. And white is probably going to gain some control over these light squares. So this looks like the most dangerous. And indeed, this has been played before and white has reasonable results. So queen c2 is a little bit unusual. That's an excellent move. So black needs to connect. Black needs to bring this knight into the game to connect with the king side to defend. Pawn takes pawn, but that's no bother. The knight spins to e5, attacking this bishop, also controlling square here, looking at this. Bishop f5, okay, holding this pawn for the moment, but queen e8, excellent. So Shreyas castles and Gawain takes on e6. But over the last few moves, I think the game has really turned. White's attack doesn't seem to be getting very far. This bishop defends very well. The queen has come over and can easily switch to defense on the king side. And yeah, these pieces look pretty strong. White's king isn't completely safe. And by the way, there's this semi-open f-file as well. So the bishop is now attacked. Bishop h7 check, king h8. I mean, black looks pretty solid here actually with these pawns. I mean, really, white only has one option here. And that is to just go for it. And Shreyas does that, knight e4. So he's giving up this pawn, knight c4, but he takes on g5. Okay, so that doesn't look bad. So these pieces are flying into the position as well. Now, if you were to look at this position with the computer, then the computer likes g3, which is an uncompromising move. I mean, it's extraordinary that black can get away with this move. Of course, the point is, if pawn takes pawn, then knight e3. I mean, this sends the game into just sort of wild complications. I won't bore you with it. I'm sure you could investigate that yourself. But that is not an easy move to play, and black has to find a string of only moves to actually find a way to some kind of advantage. Gawain played, to my eyes, a very natural move, d5. So stomping forward in the middle, supporting the knight. Bishop g6 played, attacking the queen. Now, if the queen moves to e7, then rook h5, so defending the knight, followed by rook number 2 to the h-file, and that is really dangerous. So black will be in serious trouble because there are so many pieces massing there on the king side. So after bishop g6, what did Gawain play? Fantastic counterpunch, rook f2. So if bishop takes queen, then in fact black ends up with a material advantage after all these piece trades. You can work that out for yourself. But after rook f2, queen takes f2, queen takes g6. Okay, some exchanges, and rook takes d5. So after that flurry of tactics, we've got a position where Shreyas with white is the exchange up, rook for bishop up. Black has a pawn for it. This is a nice bishop striking across the board, but it's needed for defense. The knight is lurking. Well, first of all, there's the question, what happens if black tries to win this rook? So bishop takes, pawn takes, and that knocks out the knight that defended the rook. queen takes, black's piece up, but queen f6 is winning very easily with lots of checks and so on, followed by either rook f6 or rook f8. So Gawain has to be careful. He played rook f8, so an important move, because now it's possible that after the queen moves, then bishop takes and queen takes rook is on the cards. So that's why queen e2 was played. And Gawain was already quite short of time, and he took on c3. So pawn takes bishop, queen takes is good for black. So therefore queen takes. But this ends up actually in white's favour. So bishop d4. Now this bishop has found a nice anchor on d4 and the queen defends the h-pawn. However, rook d7 is incredibly strong. After b6, Gawain offered a draw, which is pretty extraordinary in itself. From memory, I think Shreyas had about 20 minutes here, maybe a bit less. Gawain was down to something like 3 minutes. So Shreyas, with the initiative and a time advantage, you'd think he'd want to play this position on, but he accepted the draw. But this was a golden opportunity for him. So a draw agreed in this position. He could have played queen c2, forcing move, threatening a mate, supported by the rook, of course. The bishop drops back to defend. Queen g6, threatening a checkmate with queen takes bishop. I mean, if queen e5, then that's mates in a couple. And if rook g8, I mean, it's the only sensible move, you can see that black is completely tied down here. Just rook takes pawn. Problem is, you know, black would love to counterattack on this diagonal. But queen d4 will always be met by rook h6 and mate. So that queen has to remain protecting the h-pawn. The rook has to protect the bishop. The bishop can't move because it's mate. So black is just really short of ideas here. You know, you could try b5, push these pawns, but well, the rook goes behind this one. There's not a lot happening here. At some point, well, you know, I think white is going to be able to pick up one of these pawns. Black is just really short of moves, basically. You know, perhaps this rook will find a way to swing round here into the middle. So I think a big missed opportunity from Shreyas Royal there. You know, he's played this game so bravely. We can only speculate why he accepted the draw. Maybe he's, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, okay, a draw will just get me closer to a Grandmaster norm. I don't want to mess this game up. And yeah, he's got 4.5 out of 5 against good opposition. So he just played it safe. I'm guessing that's what he had in mind. Anyway, there are now 2 leaders in the tournament. We have Shreyas Royal and Gawain Jones with 4.5. Oh, I think they've been joined by Amit Ghazi as well on 4.5. So the stronger seeds who've dropped points in earlier rounds, this draw allows them to catch up a little bit. Anyway, it's all to play for with 4 rounds to go.